All right, here we go. China Mac, welcome back to VladTV.
What's up, man? Good to be back.
Yeah, the last interview went crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy. Over 2 million views combined.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like people are really checking for that story.
That's what's up. Thank you. You know what I mean? Thank you for giving me the opportunity first and bring me back up here. You know what I mean?
No doubt. So I want to get into the whole story because I think in hip hop, people are people already know about different types of gangs. They know about the Vice Lords. They know, they heard about the Mexican gangs. They know about the Crips and the Bloods. But the Chinese Mafia is something that people have seen in movies here and there, but really don't know a lot about. Yeah. And you actually come from that world.
Yeah.
So before your father and your role and everything else like that, what do you know about the Chinese Mafia in terms of America?
The Chinese Mafia came. I don't know about the years. It was probably like the 60s, 70s, around that time. But there's tongs, you know what I mean, and those are like the I wouldn't call them gangs. They're like mafia, like organized, and in those back in those countries they're kind of like government too. Like they run. They do all the politics and stuff like that. They're heavy into politics or whatever. So when they migrated over to America, New York and California and all the other places, the tongs came, that culture came with it. This goes back to dynasty days. Like this is when, this is how long these organizations has been around. So when they came to America, it came with it, and for many, they were called associations. So what the associations would be, because many of the people didn't speak English, and they didn't know the culture, they didn't know American culture, so everything was really insular. You know what I mean? And the associations ran the business for the people, right? And so, they would be the politicians, they would do all the stuff, they would tie in all the businesses. So all the businesses really had to go through the associations. And then the associations, because they're like they would be considered like a legal entity, you know what I mean? And so they couldn't really do the dirty work. So they would have the gangs, and this is where, and the gangs would do the dirty work for the associations, you know what I'm saying? And when I mean, like, say you're a part of this association, and somebody has, they're not giving up the money or they're not doing certain deals that would benefit the association, then you would call me, right? Who I'm the gang leader, and I report to you. And you would call me and you would say, well, listen, these people are not cooperating, so we would need, and then that's when buildings get blown up. That's when, things start, what I mean? It wouldn't start off like that.
How much of it was, at that time, protection money and, kind of extortion and so forth, where, you have these, because that's always what I kind of think when I think about these types of things, whether it's Chinese or Italian, where you have all these stores in the neighborhood and everyone has to kick back to the gangs, or else something might happen to their store, or something like that. Was it kind of like that?
It was everything. Yeah. That's very real. Every store back in those days, every store, every business had to kick back. You know what I mean? They had to kick back to the gang, and the gangs ran the blocks. So it would be like Flying Dragons on Pell Street, Flying Dragons on Grand Street, Ghost Shadows on Bayard Street, Ghost Shadows on Mott Street, and every store on each block would have to pay monthly, sometimes weekly. That was very real.
What's an example? So if you have a successful Chinese restaurant on Mott Street, how much would they have to kick back every month, just as a number?
Well, it could go, if it's real successful, like a big chain, anywhere from $10,000 wouldn't be outrageous. $5,000, depending on how much they're making.
Okay.
And yeah.
And then if they don't pay, then something might happen to their store.
Yeah, then, you know, they pay otherwise. Like, like, damn, somebody might come in there and damage the store, damage the restaurant. Somebody might prevent customers from coming in the restaurant. So then you're like, you're taking a loss either way. You know what I mean? So, what do? Do you just like, you know what I mean? That's how it was.
And if one of these shop owners went to the police and said that this gang is forcing me to pay, what happens then?
I mean, at that time, that was unspeakable, unheard of. The way the culture is, first of all, the Chinese people, and this is why the Chinese Mafia lasted so long and without like any infiltration, because the people didn't speak to outsiders, right? Like, they looked at police, but period. They looked at the white people. They looked at anybody that wasn't Chinese. They looked at everybody else as like outsiders, and they're the enemy, like they're the enemy too. You know what I'm saying? So they would rather give up the money and deal with the Chinese people that's taking advantage of them and that's like, that's doing all this harmful stuff to them, than to deal with the officers. And that was the culture. You know what I mean? No talking, and just like, just keep it, just deal with it amongst each other.